Hi guys, and welcome to this Ymir tutorial series. In this first episode I'm going to start with some of the basics of Ymir. Then I'm going to move into how you could settle your tribe, build it up, get maybe around 150 to 200 porcos. I'm going to probably end this tutorial series once we hit the Copper Age, as by that point you probably will have gained enough to know how to continue from there on, but I can continue it if needed. So, starting off, once you've clicked New Game, and you've come to this, if you're familiar with 4X, sort of strategy games, you'll probably know what to do here. Map size, map preset, that's quite self-explanatory. Game settings, you want to keep that on official, and game type solo. If you do want to host your own server, you can then go to game type, set it to real-time or persistent, and then do all the port forwarding for that. But that's not what I'm going to be teaching you in this video. So, I'm going to end this tutorial series, and then we'll get started. Okay, so now we're in the character creation scene. So, a few things. On the left, this tab, this is just the cosmetics of what your porco looks like, the porco leader, and just its name. So you can click the little randomize buttons just to find something you like. Yeah, we'll go with this. And then I'll just keep it as the name that I've already got, but you can put whatever you want. Here, this is the nation, flag, and name. So, we'll keep it at the Hitzos, or the Hitzos, and then let's go for a red, change the emblem to a castle, and then we'll go for like a yellow. Okay, that's just a basic nation flag. So in the multiplayer, this is the exact same. You create your character, its name, the government name, or the nation name, sorry, at the top here, and then the nation flags. This is what other players will see when they click on you. But for the single player, it's just for you. This is more important on the right. This is where you start with the climates and the starting type. So what I want to do for your single player single player starting is primitive tribes. This simply means you start how the game intends you to start, as a little tribe, and you build up. Succession, it does say, but it means you become the ruler of an existing government where the player has gone inactive. So this is for multiplayer only, really. Colonies is where you start as a city that an online nation has set as a city they want a player to take over. So that's what a colony is. Again, multiplayer only. And new leader is where you take over a territory that's had a rebellion. So I'd say that's probably the hardest one, because you ought to think, why have they had a rebellion? The place is probably ruined. Succession or colonies, though, they're much easier. But I'd say always go primitive tribe, as that's the classic way to start. Climates, temperate's the easiest. Tropical is quite nice. Cold, again, just a bit lower fertility. Arid is probably the hardest, so I wouldn't go with that. But they're not too different. It just changes what sort of food types you get, resources you get, fertility of the soil, that sort of thing. So once you've sorted this out, I'd say with the right, keep it as I've got, or minimise cold and arid. In fact, let's minimise arid, assuming I wouldn't want you to start with that straight away. So create what you want, and then sit play. So we're in. Once you're in, you get these little missions. As you can see, the first one is creating a settlement. If you're following this series along with me, you can read these quickly and pause the video, but these are basically little tutorial tasks, and they give you civilization points at the bottom. So civilization points, before we start explaining these are points which you invest into different products or services in your economy, and it boosts them, it makes them more productive, it makes them more efficient, that sort of thing. So they are very important, especially in multiplayer where you want to specialise. Anyway, we started. We're in a tropical area, close to arid. We've got a jungle here. And we're ready to settle. One of the tips I gave in my beginner's tips and tricks is to settle immediately. And that is very true. As we look around, you can see this sort of black, not even a fog of war, just like a void where you haven't explored yet. If your porcos go into that space, whether it's a band of warriors or a band of just settlers, there will be events that can be very dangerous. So we're going to settle straight away. And in fact, a forest is a nice place to start. A tropical forest. you may have got a different spawn, but it shouldn't play out too differently. So what we want to do, bottom left, once you've selected your tribe, is hit the orders button and then click settle. Name the town whatever you want. It's going to be your capital. So I'm going to name it Redwood. And then leave all of this the same and then just click OK. Now this is a territory you own. And you should have then moved on to the next task, which is they want us to collect water. So anything now with this colour, border and square, which matches your nation colours, you now own. So we're going to right click to say we've completed this one. And we're going to go up to the top here and click go to selected territory. We've clicked on this and then go to selected territory. Once you're in, have a look at the territory. Obviously, it's probably not a very experienced player or maybe a brand new player that you are. It may be a little bit confusing or not sure really what to look out for. What I want you to look out for and what I look out for is if you go to the build, so this is where all you can build your different things, go to production, click the gathering camp, and it will highlight all on the map the different food sources that your gatherers can collect. So I've got bananas. I'm not sure actually what that is. Is that like chickpeas or something? Peas? Something like that. I don't usually spawn in the tropical, so I'm not too familiar with the different food sources. Anyway, you've got your gatherers down. Then do the same with the hunters. So you can see I've got 2 different meat sources. So the hunter camps give you meat and leather, so they're critical in the early game. But the first thing you want to do, and straight away, is go to housing, water collector, and the water source you've got in your territory. You may even have a big river or a very tiny little pond like I do. You want to get your water collector down and place them there. Little tip about the water collectors is they have to be 15 tiles or about, I think it's about 15 blocks away from each other. So you want to try and space them out quite nicely to maximise your water efficiency with them. One bad thing about this territory I am right now is I can actually only have 1 water collector, so I'm going to need wells very shortly. So we've done the water for the tribe mission. The next mission you should have is hunting. It wants us to produce 1 unit of meat per tick. So we're going to go back to production, hunter, and we're simply just going to place the hunter building when it's selected the hunting spot. So the hunter there, I'm going to place another one over here. You may have 1 hunting spot, you may have no hunting spots, and that is a problem. I'd say for your first game, if you don't have any hunting spots, just restart. But that's probably quite rare. So you want to fill out all your hunting spots, and this will build little buildings that will take 4 porco jobs, and they will hunt for you. If you then go to your resources, you can now actually see the meat, and we can see we're producing 3.4 because of the new hunter jobs we've built. So we're making more than we need currently. Same with leather. So we've now completed the hunting job. Next is gathering. This is the same thing, but just with the gatherer. So gathering camps, and we can see I've got quite a lot of food, and I've got 2 different types of food. This is very important. The more food types you have, the bigger your population can grow. If you only have 1 food type, there will come a point where it will cap, and any more food you introduce to the market won't have an effect. So 2 food types to start with is really, really good. But if you don't have 2 food types and only have 1, I'll explain other ways later on in the series to branch out and collect more. So I've got a nice start here with quite a lot of food. I'm going to get my gatherer, and I'm going to try and maximise. So you can see it caps there at 1.2 bananas. So I'm going to try and get it where it just hits 1.2. There we go. And try and maximise it, because obviously you want the most efficiency possible. So here, this is a nice amount. This gatherer is fully done at 1.19. If I built it here, I wouldn't get much use out of those porco jobs. Here, this is another good spot. So you can see there's just little remnants on the side where I could build a gatherer, but actually the porcos probably won't get enough work out of them. So I'm going to leave that for now, and once I get more porcos, I'll build some more gatherers. Okay, so we've just completed gathering, and if we click on here, we can actually see that the 3 porcos have filled out the 3 job slots, and they're getting 100% usage, which is what we want. We don't want too much usage, because otherwise we're not getting the most we can. But if you have too low in efficiency or usage, you won't be getting enough out of them. So you can see here we're at 98, so that's perfect, where they're getting almost as much use as they can, but they're not leaving goods to be used. So the next thing we want to do is tools. So another tip I gave in my tips and tricks video is to try and start and build your city on an area of low production. So you see all these flint patches. If you right click and hold, it selects and tells you what you've selected. So we can see here, fertility 1, gravelly ground. This is a perfect place to build your cities, because all of this space here, with all the trees on it and all the bushes and everything, that's really good farmland. Fertility 2, it's not the best, but you certainly don't want to be building farms on gravel. So if you go to the top right here, fertility, this bright green is brilliant farmland. This darker green isn't very good, but still good enough. And this brown, you do not want to be building farmland on. So that's why you want to build your cities on this large amount of flint. So I'm going to start off here. Select the toolmaker, which is free to build. And I like to make my cities look quite nice, so I give them proper structure and planning. But you can just put buildings down however you want. So I'm going to actually build 4 toolmakers. Okay, so the toolmakers are all built. And actually one of them has filled up. To supply these toolmakers, if we go to resources, click on flint, we can see that now industries are using up 2 flint, but we're not producing any flint. So even though we have a stockpile, we're going to run out. So production and flint collector. And I want to build the flint collector far away from my city. So I'm going to build a flint collector over here. There we go. This will build up, and I'm going to select this to high. So you can do this yourself, but you can set priorities of what you want the buildings to be. You can also left click on the little porco to hire or fire jobs. So I'm actually going to hire just 1 here for now. And I'm also going to go back to the farms, and I'm going to select critical for all of them. This is saying that these are super important jobs that I want fulfilled first, because you do want your food jobs fulfilled first. So if you want to do this as well. Okay, so we've got tool production going. Slow at the moment, but it's still going. We're producing 0.5 hammers per tick. I'm not exactly sure what a tick is in the single player. In the multiplayer, it's 90 minutes, but a tick basically is a trade cycle and a money cycle. So it obviously firstly depends on your speed. In the top right here, you have your game speed, which dictates how fast the tick cycle is, the trade cycle. And then you have your battle speed, which dictates how fast the battles go. I'd recommend leaving them at ×1 while you're doing stuff like we're doing now. And then when you're in a period where you've done everything you want to do and you're waiting for researchers to come in, stuff to happen, put it on maybe ×5 or ×10 once you know what you're doing. Because you don't want the game running too fast. That's something you'll learn from experience. So, bananas. We're producing 2 bananas, but our porkers down here at demand only need 1.6. So actually, we've got plenty of bananas. Beans, which is what they are, beans, we're not meeting demand. So don't worry too much about that. If we go here to population, we can actually see we're still growing. Because if you click on anybody, we're fulfilling food and water access. So if you click on all of these, you can see we're actually fulfilling their vital needs at 100%. And this here says it as well, 100%. Which means the porcos are getting as much food and water as they need to continue to breed and the population to grow. So actually, we're doing fine. And this is the point where you could speed it up to get more population. So actually, that's what I'm going to do. And I'll come back once I've got maybe 50 or 60 more population to get some more jobs going. Okay, so the population hasn't grown too much, but there's a few things I also want to mention before you speed things up. So, in production, place some ground storage. And what I want you to do is I want you to find an area where you build a fort. In my area, I don't have any good fort locations at all. I don't have a hill, I don't have a river island, and I don't have a cliff to build my fort against. So I'd have to spend extra resources to build a bigger fort, but that's okay. If you have a fort, sort of a good fort location, what you can do is you can go to fortifications and it will actually show you red lines like these. what you want to do is you want to find a location like this, place all your ground storage inside them. Obviously this is a river, so I couldn't do it here, and then you want to build walls just to connect up all these red lines. Once you do it, the colour will change to this red, which shows that it's a closed space you can't access. And you then want to build a gate to fulfill that. So you can either build it against a cliff and just build your walls like this, just saving you wall space, or you can find a hill and actually build your stuff on top of the hill. For anybody else who's starting in an area and they don't have that, you can follow what I'm doing, which is place your ground storage. And we won't get too many because obviously the more ground storage we place, the more walls we'll have to build, which is more expensive. But we'll get a good amount. Let's say, yep, like this. And we'll have it all in that one area. I'm then going to right click on the delete button, delete buildings. And then I'm going to delete all of this ground storage over here. So we've now got all our storage in one place. If you don't store goods, they will simply delete over time. So it's important you store goods. Okay, so that's ground storage talked about. The next mission we've got is wood. So I'm not sure where you are, but if you're following along, wood is quite hard to get sometimes. I'm very lucky. I've spawned in a place that is so dense with wood. So I'm fine. But you may start in a plains or sort of like a field where you don't have many trees, and so wood could be quite tricky for you. If this is the case, what I'd recommend, going to the civilization points on the top left, culture, skills, and then add wood. Don't add too many, but maybe add 1 to 2 points, and it will boost your productivity, which means your workers get more done. Yeah, they get more done. Natural sources productivity means they get more from each unit. So let's say a tree represents 0.1 wood. They'd get 0.11 wood per tree. That's what the natural sources productivity means. So I'm going to get some woodcutters and I'm going to just build them quite far away from my place. There's one. And there's another. You can see that even though there's this big square represents the pickup zone, these woodcutters can only chop as many as the red units. So I'm actually going to invest some civilization points just to save jobs. So wood, and then I'm going to invest 2. Spend the civilization points, and now they've gone from producing 0.6 wood to they'll produce even more. Even though the woodcutter building will still say 0.6 in the bottom left, don't listen to that, they will produce more. But I don't have enough jobs. If you go back to population, employed 22, so 22 out of 22 of my working porcos are employed, but there's 31 jobs. So this is why population growth is important to build your wealth. But don't worry about that too much, because a lot of jobs, like for example these two, these are just spare jobs where I don't fully need them filled. So I've actually got enough hammers for now, so I'm going to set these to low, and I'm going to actually fire both of these workers as well as the flint workers. So that's made them inactive, as you can see here. And then I'm going to place them here, higher 1, and then higher 1. Oh, they've already got 1. Brilliant. So we're now bringing in wood, 1.2 units of wood, and we've completed this objective. So we can tick that off, and that gives us stone and wood. Brilliant. Okay, so we've just got a pop-up here, and it's saying there's 12 warriors. I can't think of a situation you'd really want to decline the 12 warriors, so I'm going to accept them. That just gives you 12 free warriors. The reason you might not want to accept them is because they require food to keep working, but if you're in a situation like me where you're waiting for the growth to happen, this is fine. So I've got those 12 warriors, and what I'm going to actually do is click the formations, click strategic tool, right click the old defensive zone, which is this one. I'm going to right click that, add new defensive zone, and I'm actually going to just drag that over these. Click done. And then click strategic tool again. Click on those warriors, which will take me to them. And once I've got them selected, I'm going to drag them over this. And this is now assigning them to this defensive zone, which means once I'm attacked, the warriors will actually the warriors will spawn on my ground storage just to protect it. So I'm actually going to end it for this video. We've got the very basics covered in terms of starting the game, where to settle, getting gathering camps up, hunter camps up, basic tool production, flint production, civilization points, the very, very, very basics. In the next video, we'll just go further and we'll see where it takes us. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.